South Carolina Gamecocks will try and rebound from a loss last night as they take on the Alabama Crimson Tide. And hello again, everybody. I'm Dave Neal alongside my partner, Larry Conley. And Larry, really, South Carolina was the best team in baseball until the postseason last year. 56 wins. This year, they're picking up right where they left off. 24 victories already. They face an Alabama team that's gathering some momentum. We've got two real good pitchers against two very good offensive teams today. Something's going to have to give.
You know, Dave, these are the two best pitchers these two clubs have to offer right now. Take a look at Gary Bell, who is the pitcher for South Carolina. You can see what he's been able to do with all those wins and also his 2.22 earned run average. But look at this lineup that he's going to be facing from Alabama. Clark with 10 home runs, tied for second in the SEC. On down the line, Boyd at 375, tied for ninth in the SEC. McClanahan, the leadoff hitter, at 370, 10th in the SEC. Harrod at 34 runs batted in, a terrific hitter from the left side. Now, on the other side, Lance Cormier. Look at this, 4 complete games, leads the Southeastern Conference. He also leads his club with a 1.99 earned run average. That is second best in the SEC, but he also facing a very deadly lineup. Whitaker with those 11 home runs and 42 RBIs leads the SEC. McBeth and Jeffcoat equally as good from both sides of the plate. This is really a terrific matchup today.
Yeah, something's got to give. We've got a pitcher with a 2.2 ERA. We've got another one with a 1.9 ERA. Will the pitchers win or will the offense win? We'll have the answer to those questions when we come back. It's the Tide and the Gamecocks next. We're back inside Sewell Thomas Stadium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. We're getting set for the 5th-ranked Gamecocks and the Crimson Tide. It's an East versus West matchup. South Carolina loses last night 12-1. Their first double-digit defeat in 2 years of competition. And let's get you caught up on the standings and show you where these teams stack up. South Carolina, the highest-ranked team in the Southeastern Conference, actually second in their division. Tennessee loses last night, but so does South Carolina and Georgia, so not much changes there. Florida at 4-6 in the league. Some expected them to win the SEC Eastern Division. Meanwhile, over in the west side of things, this Alabama team trying to kind of gather some momentum. Ole Miss atop. They are a surprise in the Southeastern Conference under Mike Bianco, the first-year head coach of the Rebel program. LSU at 7-3, 20 wins overall. Alabama, you see their 18-11 mark, 5-5 overall in league play. Mississippi State, team it's hard for me to figure out. One day they have great pitching and not hitting, and the next day they get some good hitting, and pitching might slack off a little bit, but they're a team to keep an eye on as well. And Larry, you and I had a chance to spend some time with this man this morning, Ray Tanner, and head coach of the South Carolina Gamecock program, but also a member of the USA Olympic baseball staff last year with Tommy Lasorda, and some fond memories for him winning a gold medal.
Yeah, he was telling some awfully good stories about not only his time down there in Australia. I asked him about the travels down there, and he says, geez, he says, I'm not a traveling guy. I'm a homebody. He said, I would go back down to Australia because I do like it down there. Folks, the reason we're delaying a little bit is that we really don't know where the umpires are right now. The coaches have been standing behind home plate waiting on them for well over 4 or 5 minutes, and we still have yet to see anyone in blue walk out on the field. Kind of hard to have a game without these guys.
John Whitaker, Mark McGill, and John Magnuson are our triumvirate of umpires today, and they're nowhere to be found. But there's a look at Jim Wells in his 7th year as the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. They are back home for the first time in a while. They'd played 7 of 8 games away from home, but last night they started on a 9-game homestand. But Wells has been to 3 College World Series, 6 regionals, 1 SEC title, 4 tournament titles. I mean, we got 2 of the best in the business. And here are our umpires finally making their way in.
You know, I was looking at the schedule, and one of the schedules said this game began at Central Time, 3:15. I'm wondering if that's the schedule they were looking at.
Possibly. And one of those umpires, we're not sure which one, a little under the weather, which might have delayed them coming to the field. Regardless, they are here. We're ready to go for a little baseball as soon as they get the lineups checked out. And here's some scores from around the Southeastern Conference last night. Mississippi State loses to Arkansas 6-5. Florida beats Vandy in 10 innings, 9-6. Auburn with their first SEC win over Tennessee. First SEC win overall. It came against Tennessee 11-3. LSU beats Kentucky by 4. And Ole Miss at home beats the Georgia Bulldogs in a top 20 matchup Hard to believe you see 19 and 20 next to Georgia and Ole Miss after some of the years they had back in the middle to late part of the 90s.
Great sign to see both of those clubs back in the upper division in the Southeastern Conference once again. How about the hot club right now is Florida. Andy Lopez's club has won 8 games in a row now. All of a sudden, they've thrust themselves back into the fray.
Alabama players and the South Carolina players last night had to deal with some temperatures in the low 50s with drizzle all night. Today it's 60, overcast. Slight chance of rain. Don't think we'll have it today, but wind is blowing out toward left field. So ball gets up in this wind. There's a chance it could take off and get out of here, but neither one of these pitchers gives up many home runs. 2 home runs given up by Lance Cormier and 2 given up by Gary Bell as well. And you hear the sound of the elephant, which means the Tide team ready to take the field. Nothing like a little fill, Larry. Here's South Carolina's batting lineup today. This is how they will attack Lance Cormier. Drew Meyer is the shortstop, hitting .301. Marcus McBeth, one of the talented players in the entire country, out in center field, hitting .317. Brian Jeffcoat is your second baseman. He hits third. He has 8 home runs. Tim Whitaker, also a catcher, will be the DH today with 11 home runs, 42 runs batted in, and a .340 batting average. Trip Kelly, your first baseman. Michael Floyd in right field, hitting .341. Trey Dyson struggling this year after a season where he hit over .300 a year ago, hitting just .164. Tony Adler at .257, and Landon Powell is behind the plate. He's hitting .162.
And Lance Cormier is going to be the pitcher this afternoon. Big, strong right-hander, throws in the high 80s, low 90s. Excellent fastball. Maybe his best pitch. His curveball is really considered his out pitch. Very, very quick with that breaking ball, and he gets to the plate in a hurry.
Let's take a look at that Alabama defensive lineup today, beginning with our first baseman, Aaron Clark. He wears number 20. Brent Boyd is your second baseman. He makes the switch this year from third base and replaces Sam Bozanich, who anchored that spot for a couple of years. Adam Pavkovich will be the third baseman. Casey Lambert is your shortstop. Had some defensive liabilities last year, but has certainly improved here in 2001. In left field, it's Nate Rogers getting a start today. We'll have more on his story a little bit later. Scott McClanahan is in center field. And Peter Stonert is out in right field. And that is how the Alabama Crimson Tide will line up defensively. Behind the plate, Jeremy Brown, the former first baseman, has made his way around the infield, can play anywhere, but they decided that his best option this year would be behind the plate, and he has done a marvelous job handling this Alabama pitching staff. And the pitcher, Lance Cormier, 7 starts, 4-4 record, 1.99 ERA. For Lance, he has been feast or famine, really. He has been brilliant at times. He has a game where a one-hit shutout Wofford, and then he's given up as many as 10 hits and 8 runs in a game. So with him, it's what are you going to get?
Well, Dave, in his last 5 decisions, he's been 2-3. He had that great outing against Winthrop in that doubleheader back on March the 4th. He won 12-0 and went 9 innings. But since then, it has been a struggle. He's lost 3 of his last 4, including an 8-7 loss last weekend against Ole Miss.
Well, we'll see how he goes against Drew Meyer in the South Carolina Gamecocks. Meyer, the 2001 preseason All-American, freshman All-American a year ago. Steps up with that .301 average.
This guy's got a wide open stance. That right foot really pulled back toward the first base bag. Nice afternoon. Sun broke through a little bit today.
Yeah, it's going to be good for baseball. He's don't have one of those high skies today, so the outfielders won't have much trouble. There's a strike from Cormier. 2-1 the count. Last night, Drew Meyer went 0 for 3. Left a couple of runners on base as well. Didn't walk twice, however. Just misses outside. Cormier can get his fastball up in the upper 80s.
Meyer, great leadoff hitter. He's got 26 walks this year, which leads his club.
There's a shot to third. Adam Pavkovich. For out number 1. Meyer hit it on the button, but right at the third baseman. Cormier first South Carolina in his career with that 2.08 ERA, and that's saying something about this team last year. They could produce some runs. Here's Marcus McBeth, the center fielder. Great arm, good bat, big-time prospect. That's in the dirt. Talking to Coach Tanner this morning, he said this is probably their highest draft pick on this team right here. You're looking at a guy that could be a top 3 round pick, if not higher.
He's hit the ball very, very well this year. And he's hitting .317 for the year, but he leads this club in doubles with 12.
Not to mention his 10 home runs and 32 RBIs.
Here's a profile of this young man. They call him Shakespeare, thus Macbeth. Good bat speed, fastball hitter, aggressive at the plate, has a little bit of everything, and writes prose in his separate time.
He's one of those 5-tool players you like to hear about. Can beat you in a number of ways. Andrew Jones of the Braves is one of those guys who's a 5-tool player. Good arm, good bat, good speed, good glove. Swings right through the fastball, 2-2 the count.
Only a pretty good velocity here in the first inning. Some man's out of Lafayette, Louisiana, junior, about 6'1", 195 pounds, a Cajun. Actually started out as a reliever here at Alabama. We were visiting before the game with Jim Wells. We were talking about that.
Curveball, fooled him. Out number 2.
Let's go back and take a look at Lance Cormier's breaking ball. A little off speed. Nice bender right there. Macbeth way out in front of it. Look how far he misses this ball. It's down in the dirt. Nice pitch.
Second baseman, number 18, Brian Jeffcoat.
And here's Brian Jeffcoat, the second baseman, with a lofty .380 average. Jeffcoat last night, 1 for 3. Around and he's in there for a strike.
This guy's having a terrific year. He's 8th in the Southeastern Conference in hitting with that .380 average. South Carolina team's got some pop in their bat.
Right, the pitch in the dirt. As a team, 56 home runs, a .293 batting average. They have 67 team doubles. And when they get on the base paths, they're pretty good, too. 36 of 47. Of course, nowhere near Tennessee, who shatters everybody. They've stolen more bases than the other teams have attempted.
Those 56 home runs lead the Southeastern Conference. Alabama led the SEC in home runs last year. Of course, LSU put up those 2 prodigious years back-to-back when they hit home runs down there before Alabama assumed that leadership in that category.
188 for LSU back in that 97 season. NCAA record. Right back up the middle, base hit for Jeffcoat and the Gamecocks.
Pretty good use of the bat that time by Ryan Jeffcoat. Watch again. I really kind of feel like Cormier might have grooved this one a little bit. He threw that fastball right down the heart of the plate and just rifled it back up the middle.
Tim Whitaker.
Jeffcoat on, and another base hit. Man's having a pretty good series so far. Yeah, but he was 1 for 3 last night.
Scored the only Gamecock run, did Jeffcoat. But here's Tim Whitaker, 2 for 4 behind the plate last night. As the DH today. And he had some big shoes to fill, replacing Brandon Pack last year, a great catcher for the Gamecocks.
Another breaking ball by Cormier. That's 2 in a row now. He's thrown down and away from Whitaker. Nice job of Jeremy Brown again back there. What's this catcher back here? We talked about Brown earlier just a few moments ago about the fact that this is a young man that hadn't caught a whole lot until this year. Jim Wells made the decision to put him back there. He has a great arm, and I tell you what, he's turned into a pretty good receiver, Dave.
There's a ground ball to second. Boyd will throw to first. And it wasn't 1, 2, 3, but no damage done after the Jeffcoat single. We'll come back to Tuscaloosa after this. We're scoreless. We move to the bottom of the first inning. Let's take a look at that Alabama batting order today. And Last night, Jim Wells made a switch and flip-flop Scott McClanahan and Casey Lambert. McClanahan led off for this team and went 1 for 4 with a couple of runs scored. Casey Lambert will hit second. Brent Boyd is your second baseman. Aaron Clark in the cleanup hole. Jeremy Brown behind the plate. Bo Harrod is your DH. Peter Stonard in right field. Adam Pavkovich is your third baseman. Nate Rogers out in left field.
And the pitcher is Gary Bell out on the mound for the South Carolina Gamecocks. Gets it up in about the upper 80s. Quick to the plate with runners on. It's terrific control, too. Good-looking left-hander out of Ponce Inlet, Florida. Came from Daytona Beach Community College.
Let's swing around the defense for South Carolina. Trip Kelly's at first base. Ryan Jeffcoat is at second base. Tony Adler will be the starter at third. Drew Meyer, a good shortstop, will anchor that spot. In the outfield, it's Trey Dyson in left. Marcus McBeth out in center, great range, and Michael Floyd is out in right. Behind the plate today will be Landon Powell, the youngster. Should still be in high school. He'll be catching Gary Bell, who is 6-2 with a 2.22 ERA. He has struck out 38, walked 15 in those 48 2/3 innings of work.
Pretty good ratio, strikeouts to walks. This young man, as I said, gets it up in the mid-80s. One of the things that we learned about him, he fields his position very, very well. Always nice to have a guy out there who'll pick that up for you, too.
That's in there for a strike. First pitch to McClanahan. McClanahan 370, 8 doubles this year. He's the lone returning starter in that Alabama outfield. That's down in the dirt. 1-1.
One of the things that Ray Tanner told us about this young man on the mound, he said, you know, you'll watch him throw it. He does get up in the 80s, but his best pitch is really his changeup. He thinks that is the best pitch he has of his repertoire.
And rarely do you hear that from a college pitcher.
I guess part of the problem is it's very difficult to teach young men coming out of high school how to throw that changeup, throw strikes with it.
Last year, South Carolina had the Killer Bees. Their pitching staff was at times unhittable. The Balknight back, the #1 starter a year ago. National College Player of the Year, got beat up pretty good last night. One of the worst outings he's had. Didn't make it out of the 5th inning.
It's a rare occasion for him. He had such a terrific year last year.
And just misses. There is Kip last night. 7 hits, 7 runs, no strikeouts. Just one of those things that, as Ray Tanner said to us, you know, you can't be perfect every night.
Already lifting that weight with the right arm, getting ready for his next outing.
Walked him. McClanahan, the leadoff walk.
Nice start for Alabama. Not a good start for Gary Bell.
McClanahan, keep an eye on him down there at first. As you look at Casey Lambert, 301, 4 homers, 16 RBIs. Was the leadoff hitter until last night all season long. But when you produce 12 runs, you don't change the lineup. And you don't miss with success. Lambert sends it to the gap. Are they going to wave McClanahan? They'll hold him up at third, but it's a double and 2 on. Nobody down for the Tide here in the bottom half of the first.
I'm a little surprised Jim Tolman, coaching in that third base box, didn't go ahead and send McClanahan. It looked like he had a pretty good shot at it, and as quick as he is, maybe they had a run right there, but he opted to hold him up, particularly with nobody out and runners at second and third. Puts a lot of pressure on this defense of South Carolina's. Ball gets into the gap, gets there in a hurry. Nice piece of hitting by Casey Lambert. Watch McClanahan make the turn right here. He thinks he's going to get waved, and then all of a sudden, up come the brakes.
Boyd riding an 11-game hit streak. Steps in. Former third baseman and now co-captain of this team, along with Jeremy Brown, who 1 for 3 last night with an RBI, 2 runs. Here's a grounder to short. They'll give up the run, make the out to first, but Alabama strikes. It's 1-0 Crimson Tide.
Baby.
take us to Aaron Clark, first baseman.
Texas, first baseman Aaron Clark.
What a year Aaron Clark has had.
10 homers, 38 RBIs.
That's good for number 2 in the Southeastern Conference in home runs and number 3 in runs batted in.
Last night, home run, and it was a bomb to right center. Doubled, couple RBIs as well. Last year, he only hit 6 home runs in 57 games. And now has 19 RBIs in his last 8 games. I would say that is production. He looks on a strike. 1-2 now.
I'll tell you what's driven up those numbers. He's had 3 games this year where he's had 5 or more runs batted in a single game.
Check that 0-2 on that count. Now it's 1-2.
A little larger crowd, a little more people filing in here. When we started the game, this place was about empty, 300 or 400 people in here. Now it looks like we're approaching 1,000, maybe a little more.
Well, this spring break in Tuscaloosa, this Sewell Thomas Stadium seats over 6,000 after renovations last season, and it can be a hostile place to come play.
Last day of March. Got any April Fool's jokes for anybody tomorrow?
Saving those for tomorrow, Larry. Can't give away my secret. Clark swings through it. And that's out number 2 in the inning. Lambert's still hanging out there at second base. First strikeout of the game for Gary Bell.
If Bell can get out of this with just 1 run being scored after guys being on second and third and nobody out, he will have accomplished a terrific goal.
Brown, 343, 4 homers. Reached base safely in all 29 games he has played this year via a hit or a walk. Nice play behind the plate from Landon Powell.
Let's go back again and watch again Gary Bell making this nice pitch down and inside, and no offering that time by Jeremy Brown, and a nice play by the catcher. Again, Landon Powell getting over there, keeping the ball in front of him.
Powell, Larry, should still be in high school. He graduated early. That's in there for a strike. And Coach Tanner believes his catcher has perhaps the best upside of anybody on his team in terms of potential. Just loaded with talent. But gradually getting him in the lineup. Learning his way around the Southeastern Conference. Here comes the 1-1. There goes the 1-1 into left field. Lambert waved around third. He will score, and that was nailed to left field by Jeremy Brown. RBI number 25 for the catcher.
I'm going to tell you what, he really put a jolt into that pitch. I mean, it was a rifle shot right over the shortstop's head. Drew Meyer had no chance to get this. I mean, he went down and got it. Great rip at the ball. Bat speed right across through there and just drove it like a shot into left field. 2-0. Alabama jumps out in front.
Here's Bo Herod, the DH. Last night, Alabama produced 11 hits, 12 runs. There were 5 South Carolina pitchers walked 5 Alabama batters. Bo last night, 3 RBIs. A slow breaking curveball just misses. Now 3-0.
I think I probably turned Herod loose right here.
Looks at a fastball. Walked him. So the transfer from Tulane draws a walk, and first and second now. There's 2 down. And the 7th batter of the inning Comes to the plate.
Peter Stoner.
Peter Stoner, his .288 average. Stoner struggling at the plate lately. Just 9 hits in his last 48 at-bats. Fastball in there for a strike. And really struggling against SEC pitching, hitting about $150. From a guy who had a 15-game hit streak to open up the season.
You know, that was interesting. I read that too. I wonder how in the world you do that.
Throw back on Powell a little bit high.
The toss down here. Landon Powell trying to get the runner going back into second base. A little bit lower. Had a shot at it.
Lead off center field out there. Go, Petey. Got the ball, buddy. Here you go, Nip.
Foul straight back.
That was a pretty good rip at it. Peter Stoner got a nice cut. Tell you what, they've got Bell measured right now in this first inning.
You know, he's Ray Tanner says, you know, to really be successful, you got to be able to throw low and away or inside. And if you miss by much against a good hitting team, they'll just drill you. And that happened to Balknight last night. Left a few pitches over the plate, and those that he did got hammered.
Tell you one thing, Mark Carter for Alabama did a terrific job pitching inside last night to South Carolina. They struggled all night long trying to get any consistency at the plate. Couldn't do it. Kept him off balance. Good breaking stuff, and when he came with a fastball, it was working right on the inside part of the plate.
Here's the 2-2. Slow roller to second base. Going to be a tough play for Jeffcoat. They get him at first. But Alabama with a big first inning. They strike for 2 runs on 2 hits. They leave a couple, but lead it 2-0. Back in a moment. Move to the second inning. South Carolina trails 2-0. The Gamecocks lose last night 12-1. Can't afford to drop 2 games here in this 3-game set. However, this is a very evenly played series. It is tied at 11, and until last night's victory by Alabama, South Carolina, the only team in the Southeastern Conference to have a winning record against Jim Wells. Just numbers. Just numbers. That's all they are, just numbers.
South Carolina 24-5, on to another great start. What a terrific year they had last year, winning 56 games. 7-3 and ranked number 5 right now. Gamecocks are.
First baseman, number 43, Trip Kelly.
Here's Trip Kelly, first baseman. 274, 6 homers, 16 RBIs. Tripp, one of the 6 hits for South Carolina last night. Tripp, as you can see, likes to get out and hang over that plate. Lined into left field. That'll be the first hit of the game for the second hit of the game for the South Carolina Gamecocks. First hit came by Brian Jeffcoat.
You know, Dave, I was looking at Cormier's, well, I'll come back, I'll make my point in a minute. Watch this ball go into left center field. Left fielder over there, Nate Rogers, trying to come up with it, falls back on his backside. It's not the ideal way to field the ball coming to you. Let's talk about Cormier. The fact that in his last 5 outings, I talked about his win against Winthrop in that doubleheader back on March the 4th. And also the fact that this guy has been a reliever for most of his career at Alabama, particularly in that freshman year when he picked up 11 saves in '99. But this is a guy who pitched in 2 games at Vanderbilt and lost both games and just didn't have a chance to get it going. Lost as a starter and then came as a reliever and lost it in the 10th inning. And then, of course, lost that game 8-7 to Ole Miss last weekend when he went 7 2/3 innings. Gave up 9 hits, 8 runs, but only 4 of them were earned. So a lot of his problems with Ole Miss last weekend are not of his own doing.
Lance's parents back in Lafayette, Louisiana. Bobby and Charmaine watching today. You folks are having a good afternoon.
It's been my experience, anytime you're in Lafayette, Louisiana, and you're in Cajun country, usually there's something good to eat around there.
They can send some to us. Larry and I will be in South Carolina.
Like we need it.
We'll be in Columbia on Friday night. We'll be in Knoxville on Saturday, so just send it on up.
Looking forward to next weekend. Good matchup on Friday.
LSU in South Carolina in Columbia.
And those Bulldogs go into Knoxville to take on Tennessee on Saturday, so chance to see some good SEC baseball.
There's a shot in the left field for Mike Floyd, the right fielder. That gets just shy of the wall before it's picked up from Nate Rogers. He'll get it in, and it's a double for Floyd. That's his 7th double of the season, and now South Carolina in business with nobody out and 2 runners on. And here's Trey Dyson, who would love to break out of a slump right here, right now.
Let's go back and take a look at the swing right now of Michael Floyd as he sends one down that left field line. You can see the left fielder Nate Rogers trying to get over to pick it up. Got it just before it got to the wall, but not before he coasted into second base with a double. As Dave said, his 7th of the year. And South Carolina's got a little something going here at second and third and nobody out.
Dyson looks at a fastball. Trey hitting 164. Trey last year hit 314. 11 home runs, 51 RBIs. And you see the numbers at the bottom. Off that pace. Trey, one of the All-SEC academic performers on the South Carolina team. Got a great sense of humor. Kind of out there in left field, and I can say that literally today, as he is the left fielder for this team. 0-2, shot to second. Boyd fields, throws, but that'll get the run in. So Dyson will pick up his teammates. It's 2-1 now as he kept the ball on the right side of that infield.
Yes. Tell Tony to stay off the high pitch.
And that takes us to Tony Adler, the third baseman, 257. Inside part of the plate.
Good fastball to start him off. See what his pitching sequence is here. Down at the bottom of the order, Adler hitting the number 8 spot.
Yeah, the 7, 8, 9 for South Carolina. Not exactly stroking the baseball. 164, 257, 162. Oh, could this be a double play? Yes.
How about that?
Adam Pavkovich makes a heads-up play. He gets Floyd. It's the Sunday hop. Nothing that Floyd could do, but Pavkovich did all he could.
And here on the campus of the University of Alabama, Crimson Tide leading South Carolina 2-1 in a very strange ending to that second inning. Watch this double play right here. Nice grab by Pavkovich. He comes up, makes the tag right there on Michael Floyd, then throws across the diamond to complete the double play. One of the more stranger double plays that you will ever witness. Floyd tried to get back. Pavkovich with a nice play. Good heads-up play.
So only one run for the Gamecocks. They trail by 1. And we move to the bottom of the second inning, and the number 8 man in the lineup. And how often do you see it? The guy who makes the good defensive play gets to bat first. Adam Pavkovich will lead it off. Adam at 306 this year. Fly ball. Center field, lazy fly ball for Marcus McBeth. That's one down in the inning. And here's Nate Rogers, the left fielder. Nate coming in. Struggling somewhat at the plate, but hadn't played a whole lot. Hitting just 100. And getting the start today because last night, in a weird turn of events, Grant Redding, the left fielder, fouls a ball off at the plate and hit him right in the mouth. And required dental work last night performed by Dr. Russell. The ball hit the ground and then hit Redding right in the mouth, pushing back 4 of his lower incisors. Out number 2 as Bell makes a nice play.
You know, when it happened last night, you and I were sitting here watching the game, and there were a lot of players that came out there. They felt like when it hit him in his mouth that it might have knocked the tooth out. So everybody was on the ground looking for teeth. He was feeling his mouth, and obviously with all that discomfort he has from the ball hitting him in the mouth, it actually just pushed his teeth back so that his incisors were kind of jammed back in there. Hope the young man's all right.
He wasn't on some pain medicine. He'd probably be out here playing today. It's the kind of kid he is. But instead, Nate Rogers gets the start in left field. This takes us back to the top of the lineup and Scott McClanahan. Breaking pitch stays outside. McClanahan walks to lead off the game. Came around to score on a 6-3 fielder's choice by Brent Boyd. Wasn't sure about it and took one of those awkward swings at it.
Gary Bell with a nice off-speed pitch that time to McClanahan.
Waited on it and drilled it into center field. Good bat control from Scott McClanahan.
Well, McClanahan off to a good start for the day. 1 for 1 already. A walk in the first inning with a run scored, and then a shot back up the middle. You know what? He swung with arms on that one. Very little body use at all. Very little stride. He just simply got his hands out in front, and you get that bat head out in front, and with a little bit of speed on it, you can hit line drives, particularly with the bats they use in college baseball.
Lambert just picked up his last time at bat. Throw back to first. Gets away from Trip Kelly, and that'll send McClanahan to second. He's going to keep going to third. Here's the throw, not in time. So a 2-base error by South Carolina. And McClanahan, with good wheels, gets all the way over to third.
The question is, who gets the error? Does the pitcher get the error, or does the first baseman? That ball looked like it came right off of his glove. I thought Kelly might have, they're going to say the pitcher. So he's going to get the error. Gary Bell with an errant throw over there, allowing McClanahan to go all the way around third. See him take a look over his right shoulder, and he says, come on over. Tim Tolman waved him on, and headlong dive into third base, and he's there with 2 down.
So here's a chance for Lambert, who just picked up his 100th career hit last inning. It was a double. Now has a chance for an RBI. This Alabama team doesn't look like one that was riding a 4-game win streak until last night, as Lambert fouls it off his foot. As a matter of fact, that 4-game losing skid was tied the longest under Jim Wells in his career here.
They're not used to that around here. What a great year, great career Jim has had so far here at Alabama. In his 7th year, he was over at Northwestern State in Louisiana from 1990 to 1994.
Just foul.
How well has he done here? How about 3 College World Series appearances in his first 6 years, 4 SEC tournament championships, and an SEC championship back in '96.
I think a record that really stands up against most of them is the fact that he's 23-19 versus top 5 teams.
Well, usually his clubs are lingering somewhere around the top 15, so they're always able to play those kind of clubs and play them well. Jim was National Coach of the Year back in '97, according to Baseball America. And who were they runner-up to in the College World Series? LSU.
Lambert to right center. That drops in. McClanahan scores. Lambert trying to get 2, and he does so. It's the 6th double of the season, the 7th double of the season, and the 2nd today for Casey Lambert.
Well, Lambert goes back again and drills one into right center field. Pair of doubles now for the shortstop. Right-handed hitter this time going the other way into right center field. A gapper. Good hustle by Beth to get over there and get him back in. And an easy 2-bagger for Casey Lambert.
Second baseman, Brent Boyd.
And here's Brent Boyd. Get into a fielder's choice.
How about the series Lambert's having so far? He was 2 for 5 last night with a couple of runs batted in, and already 2 doubles here this afternoon with an RBI.
Jerry Myers makes his way out to the mound to talk to his pitcher, Gary Bell, pitching coach for South Carolina. But yeah, Lambert just rolling along.
You know what? And before last night and this afternoon's game, he was 1 for his last 14. So he's turned it around. 2 pretty good back-to-back games against the South Carolina club.
Here's Brent Boyd with an 11-game hit streak. Fouls it off at the plate.
Brent Boyd, the second baseman, a right-handed hitter. Junior, team's most consistent hitter. Can hit any pitch. A very good hitter, a clutch hitter. Delivers them when they're needed.
Boyd's a guy that played third base last year, but moved to second. And not that he was ever in bad physical shape, but lost a little weight, improved his mobility a little bit. Hits a grounder to third. Adler fires over to first. Short hop. Kelly gets past him. Here comes Lambert. He'll score, and South Carolina's self-destructing here in the second. Their second error of this inning.
You know, when things are going really well for you, as they have for most of the season with South Carolina, everything goes well. But right now, they're not doing very well in the field. Tony Adler comes up real short on this throw. Trip Kelly unable to pick it up. And again, Alabama picks up another run. Their 4th run so far, and we've only played. Well, we're into the second inning, bottom of the second.
Aaron Clark struck out his first time up. Fouled off at the plate, 1-1.
Man right there can't be very happy right now. Ray Tanner looking at his lineup card.
Clark swings through it. You know, he's like most coaches. This team's won 25 games this year, 24 games already, 24-5. And, you know, you're going to get beat every now and then. And so last night he writes it off as one of those games in baseball that's going to happen to you. But you put 2 of these together, and the ire of Mr. Tanner might be raised.
Well, the one thing South Carolina is trying to do is keep pace with Tennessee, even though they went down to Auburn last night and lost.
Sky down the left field line. Will it stay in play? The convergence of players couldn't catch up to it as it bounced off the seats, I should say, of left field line. They are real. You only got about there at that corner. You only have about 5 feet at that one edge.
So if you come out here to the ballpark at Sewell Thomas Stadium, good chance you're going to get a foul ball. This one stayed in play. Hit it right up on that barricade that's just below the seats.
2-2 to Aaron Clark. That's sent into left center. I don't think anybody's going to catch it. It's off the base of the wall. That'll get a run home, and Clark in with a double.
Well, his 9th double of the year. Which now puts him in the lead with the club lead anyway, and his 39th run batted in, which happens to lead the Southeastern Conference. Watch this. This ball is drilled right into left center field. A gapper. It's 5-0, and South Carolina's going to get some work going and down in the bullpen.
Blake Taylor heads to that bullpen, and I tell you what, 3 runs have scored with 2 out in the inning. Taylor heading down there, as is Tommy McLean, the left-hander.
Yeah, the one thing that Ray Tanner is going to be careful of, I mean, they're still in this baseball game. We're early. It's the bottom of the 2nd inning. You don't want to let this one get away. If you've got a chance, you need to shut this club down now.
And there for a strike. 2 out scoring. We saw it with LSU. They have had tremendous success scoring with 2 outs, and Alabama having success today. This ball misses outside. Jeremy Brown, who singled. Back in the 1st inning.
Did you see the look that Jeremy Brown just gave the home plate umpire, John Whitaker? It was, you gotta be kidding me. Hitting.
That is the 3rd hit batsman by Gary Bell this year. That puts runners at 1st and 2nd.
He tries to come inside, and Brown isn't giving away. He tried to turn at the last moment and got ticked right off of the upper part of the arm, maybe the elbow.
It's the 3rd time Brown's been hit this year.
I saw something unusual last night at this game. John Magnuson, the home plate umpire, did not allow a guy to take first base after he'd gotten hit. Basically saying you didn't make an effort to get out of the way, and the pitch came up there. It was kind of a floating curveball. It really wasn't a curve. It was a spinner more than a curve. And he just stood there and took it, called it a ball, and he says, nope, you're not getting first base. You got to come back and hit.
So here's Bo Herod, DH.
Nice goal. Nice off-speed pitch that time by Gary Bell.
There are your 2 runners. Clark is at 2nd. Brown is down at 1st. Herod ranks 8th in the SEC with those 34 RBI. And he leads the SEC with 19 runs batted in SEC games.
Another off-speed pitch by Bell. He has got Herod completely off stride.
Ray Tanner said the key to him is changeup. Usually you hear people say they set up their changeup with the fastball, but it's the other way around with Bell. He's got to set up his fastball with his changeup and the off-speed pitches. Runners go. Throw down to 3rd is perfect. Landon Powell, the youngster, with a gun to 3rd, right on the money, and that ends the inning. Aaron Clark, who had doubled, tried to steal 3rd. Didn't work, but Alabama picks up some needed runs. 5-1. Alabama scores 3 runs in the bottom of the 2nd inning to take a 5-1 lead over South Carolina as we move to the top of the 3rd inning. And joining us for a few moments is last year's National Collegiate Player of the Year, two-time All-American, and just outstanding pitcher Kip Balknight. And Kip, first of all, welcome to our game of the week. And I know last night was a tough deal for you, but since we've talked about it before the game a little bit, what happened last night?
Well, I just left a couple pitches up in the zone there in the 5th inning, and Alabama did a great job of taking those pitches the other way and getting some big hits, and just couldn't get out of that inning. And we took a tough loss, but here hopefully we can come back today with a victory.
Overall, I guess still another good season for this South Carolina team. How do you feel about this club compared to 1 year ago?
Well, I tell you, it's a team this year that is a little bit of change, and we got good pitching and defense as well. And hitters are hopefully going to just have some timely hitting like we did last year, and hopefully we can make it just one game farther and get a chance to go to Omaha again.
Kip, when you say it's a little bit of a change from last year's club, what do you mean? Is it a little more offense, a little more defense? Is the pitching better? Is it about the same? What kind of changes?
Well, when I say change, I just think it's a little bit more pitching depth. Our guys, we really have a lot of guys this year that 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys that can come in and pitch. And last year, for the most part, it was 3 or 4 guys. And losing Bauer and Barber, for this coming year has definitely been a change. But Bell and Spigner have done an excellent job, and having Lee Gronkevich in the pen and Blake Taylor and Brett Price, a lot of guys that can do a lot of good things. And we're just very pleased that we have a lot of pitching depth. I think it'll help us down the road.
There's a shot deep in the left field corner with a par called, and a great catch out in center field by Scott McClanahan. Man, oh man, Landon Powell sent it to the left center field corner, but McClanahan with good wheels stayed with it and bounced off the wall.
Watch Landon Powell's drive right here. Nice catch by McClanahan. He's about 1 step shy of that wall before he reels it in. Nice catch right there, going back over his shoulder and looking up and finding the ball. Powell put a charge in that one.
That he did. Out number 1. And that takes us to Drew Meyer.
Kip, how about your Eastern Division race right now? Are you a little surprised that you and Tennessee are vying for the #1 spot in the Eastern Division?
And this year, in my opinion, I think they've added a couple more quality arms, and they've added some experience. And the hitters have always been a good hitting team, and they always play good defense. And it's not a surprise to me at all to see them and Georgia up top. They're both top programs, and we just hope we can do what we can to win the East again.
Yeah, the West has always been kind of the topic of conversation, the depth, but I got to think the East is certainly moving up in that department quite well this year as Meyer looks at a strike 1 and 2. And Kim, what about last season? I know disappointment not making it to College World Series, but is that one of those years you'll always go back and just will you remember that fondly?
Yes, sir, I think so. It's a situation last year where all of the awards that I received, certainly I would no question trade those in any day. There's a ground ball to second.
That is
out to
that a boy, Kip.
I'll tell you what, he's ready to take your job, Dave.
Come on up, Kip.
No, but last year, no question about it, I would definitely change those accolades and records and do what I can to help my team win. And I'd love to see us go to the national championship this year and win it all. And I certainly will remember those days and remember the awards I received. But that's for right now. My main focus is my team and do what I can to help my team win. And obviously, we'd like to make it a little bit farther this year.
Here's Marcus McBeth. There's a quick grounder to short. Lambert fires 1, 2, 3. Well, Kip, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Good luck to you the rest of the way, and we'll see you on Friday night. Well, Scott McClanahan with a great catch to open up the inning out in left center. Gamecocks go down 1, 2, 3. Back in a moment. 1, Alabama leads it over South Carolina. Hey, buy a ticket to watch plays like this. This was Scott McClanahan out in left center field moments ago. Listen.
Nice to have a guy in center field that can go back and make catches like that, too. I know Landon Powell's not very happy about it.
No, Landon hit it to the deepest part of this park. This might be in the alleys. One of the deepest parks in the Southeastern Conference. You really have got to nail it to get it out in left center or right center. Here's Gary Bell working against this Alabama team that has struck for 5 runs. O'Hara was up when McClanahan was caught stealing third, singles to left. Well, our next SEC baseball game is this Friday as these Gamecocks will take on LSU, and it's going to be a great baseball game. Number 7 versus number 5. That's Friday at 7:30 Eastern. Check for the time in your area. You can bet we will have close to, if not a record crowd on hand Friday night, and Kip Balknight and company have their task and work cut out.
Fake of the bunt that time. Stoner had the bat out in front, and the curveball hit into the dirt. I was watching the third baseman, Tony Adler, creeping in. In fact, he's in the grass right now. I'm sure Stoner's going to try to move Harrod along.
There's a bunt. It could be a perfect one. Bell makes a nice play, spins around to get Stoner out number 1, but it moves the runner to second.
Nice sacrifice bunt. Watch it again. Peter Stoner. Look at the way he lays this ball down. Deadens the ball about 15 feet from the plate to the right side. Forces the first baseman to charge and get it. What you want to do. Don't put it down the third baseman's lap where he can come up with it. And the pitcher had to come over in front of the first baseman to get it. Gary Bell with a nice throw over to the second baseman, Jeff Coe covering.
Adam Pavkovich, the third baseman. Inside. That's in there for a strike. Take a little something off. Pavkovich, a 3-year starter in high school at Venice High School in Florida under former LSU All-SEC catcher Craig Faulkner. Got him ready for the SEC.
Okay, now a guy from Florida, what kind of hobbies do you think he'd enjoy? How about surfing and scuba diving? Would that fit?
Sounds about right.
Very avid scuba diver. He's been a lot of different places, putting on that mask and getting under the water.
He draws a walk and will head down to first. It's a lot better for him to say surfing and scuba diving. Had he said snow skiing, I'd be somewhat concerned. 2 on, 1 down now. For the number 9 hitter in the lineup, Nate Rogers. Grounded out his first time up.
Good breaking ball. You know what, Bell's got to be very careful right here. He's got the number 9 hitter up here, and he needs to get this guy out because he's going to go back to the top of the lineup. McClanahan and Lambert and Boyd have been pretty tough on him so far.
3 walks today for Gary Bell. He came in with 15 walks in 48 2/3 innings. Even hit a batter today. Very unlike Gary Bell. Line into right center. 1 run will come around to score. As Bo Harrod, who singled, scores the 6th run for the Tide, and Alabama with runners at first and third and still 1 down in the inning, and their lead is getting larger and larger at 6-1.
And Nate Rogers picks up his 5th run batted in of the year, hitting out of the number 9 spot. Line drive to right center field. Alabama's done a lot of that today. And we're going to have a change in pitching. And once again, Alabama jumps out in front of South Carolina. They're up 6-1.
Well, we asked the question, who would win, pitching or hitting?
We know one side of it so far.
While we have this pitching change, we will step aside and come back to Tuscaloosa in a moment. Stay with us, folks. It's SEC baseball. Gary Bell will call it a short day as Ray Tanner has made the pitching change and brought in Blake Taylor, a big right-hander with a 1.96 ERA.
Yeah, he's been in 10 games so far. This young man out of Columbus, Georgia, went to Chipola Junior College, 18 in the 3rd innings. You can see he's given up 400 runs. He's a good hard thrower out there. Lanky. Right over the top. Fastball probably his best pitch. Right now his job is to simply hold Alabama where they are right now to give the offense of South Carolina a chance to get back in this game.
Well, get the scoop on the SEC. Become an SEC insider by registering at secsports.com. Have up-to-the-minute information on special events, merchandise, tickets, and more delivered to your email address. You tell us what you want to know. Be an SEC insider. Register at secsports.com. Here are our runners. Mavkovich over at third, Rogers at first. We go to the leadoff batter in Scott McClanahan, who has scored 2 runs, walked and singled today. Pretty good afternoon so far for McClanahan, not to mention the good catch in left center. This is outside.
I'll tell you what, Dave, Alabama has no cheap hits today. Everything that they've hit out there has been on a line.
And 7 of the 9 players in this batting lineup have a hit today. There's a strike. Runner goes, hit to short. Drew Meyer. They get 1, and they get 2. It looked as though Jeffcoat got the ball hung up in his glove, but still fired to first, and they get a double play. So you could say Blake Taylor did his job and then some.
Nate Rogers going down to second, running. Watch the play by Meyer to Jeffcoat to turn the 6-4-3 double play. It got South Carolina out of a deadly inning.
Carolina 6-1 on 7 hits. And go back to that double play and watch Jeffcoat work at second base, and it looked as though he got hung up, not to mention he had a runner bearing down on him, but he gets the double play, and we had a nice scoop over at first by Trip Kelly. And as we move to the top of the 4th inning, I will turn it over to my partner for the next 3 innings. Larry Connolly will take you.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. By the way, nice to be back with you again this season. Jeffcoat will lead it off. South Carolina Gamecocks down 6-1 right now, 6-7-0 for Alabama. South Carolina guilty of some faulty fielding out there so far with 1 run, 3 hits, and 2 errors. That's Cormier, the big right-hander, wheels and deals and throws the first pitch over the plate for a strike. Jeffcoat hitting in the number 3 spot. A double back or single back in the first inning. Leads his club in hitting with a .380 average. The pitch inside, 1-1. That's South Carolina team reeling a little bit right now after that 12-1 loss last night here in Tuscaloosa. Down already 6-1 here in the top of the 4th. Cormier, the big right-hander, ready to go. Breaking ball hit down to short. Hammered up with it. A couple of shuffles in the feet for the first, and here's the first out here in the 4th inning. So 6-3, Jeffcoat out. Bring up the designated hitter, Tim Whitaker.
Take a look at Lambert there at shortstop. Last year, Larry, he was second in the SEC in a department you don't want to be second, and that is in errors. He had 28 errors last year, and this year he has improved his defense considerably. He has made as big a stride there as anybody on this team.
Whitaker in the DH spot today was the catcher in last night's game. Looks the first pitch down for a ball, 1-0. Big youngster, senior. Right-handed hitter out of Conway, South Carolina, with Conway High School. Breaking ball down low, 2-0. Always nice to have seniors around. This guy's got 3 letters. He's been a reserve for the last 3 years. But had a pretty good fall practice, and I think that's one of the reasons why he's gotten into the lineup. He hit .348 back in the fall. And here's the 3-0 count now to Whitaker.
There's the scoop on Whitaker. He can certainly hit for power. And is one of these guys that controls the head of the bat extremely well. Very patient at the plate.
Hey, something else he's patient about. How about being a reserve for 3 years, coming back for your senior year, and saying, I want to stick around and play baseball. He only played in 27 games last year, only got 12 at bats. Ground ball, weakly hit back towards second. Boyd up, goes across, 2 up and 2 down here in the 4th inning. So what do you like to have it? If you're Lance Cormier, get those weak ground balls coming back. We'll bring up Trip Kelly, the first baseman. The junior scored the only run back in the 2nd inning. He led the 2nd inning off with a single. Came home on the Michael Floyd double. So Cormier rolling right along here. Much as Mark Carter did last night for Alabama. Here's a foul back. In fact, if the net hadn't been here, Dave Neal was ready to catch that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. Kelly was the only guy to score last night for South Carolina. And so far today, he is the only player to score for South Carolina. There's a shot to left field. Backing up his Rogers, right in his tracks, and it's 3 up and 3 down in the fourth. So an easy one for Cormier. The Tide will come back in for another chance at bat. They're up right now, 6-1. Let's turn up on Saturday afternoons in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Today they're watching the South Carolina Gamecocks take on the Crimson Tide. South Carolina came in here last night with a 5-game winning streak, had it snapped, and Alabama had a 4-game losing streak, and they had that snapped. Right now, Alabama having their way with South Carolina up 6-1 as we move to the bottom of the fourth. Number 2, 3, and 4 hitters.
Larry, how about the job Cormier has done in the last 2 innings? He has thrown a total of 17 pitches in the last 2 innings.
He has a history of doing that. Casey Lambert, the shortstop, leading it off for Alabama. New pitcher who came on in the bottom of the third, Blake Taylor, big right-hander. There's a breaking ball, fouled back for strike. Casey Lambert has a cousin, a guy by the name of Andy Sheets. Does it ring a bell? And for those of you who follow SEC baseball, he played at LSU. Presently the shortstop, and I'll tell you that story as we look at a double, a possible double down the line third. And once again, Casey Lambert with his 3rd double of the afternoon. The ball just got inside the bag.
3 doubles in 1 game. I'm gonna have to stick my head across the way and see if Barry Allen, the sports information director, and give me if that's any kind of school record. 3 consecutive doubles. Lambert sneaks it past Adler at third base. Adler gave it a great effort, but not enough to slow down Lambert.
So Lambert resides a second. Boyd hits a shot back up the middle. It gets into center field, so Brent Boyd with a single, and he's going to get a run batted in. If, in fact, the throw is not good, it's there. He's into the plate for another run. Terrific throw from center field that time by Macbeth. It just wasn't there in time to get the very speedy Casey Lambert. So a run batted in, and the 31st for Brent Boyd of the year. Lambert scores his 3rd run of the afternoon. 3 doubles, 3 runs scored. What else do you want him to do?
And it almost came to an end here as Lambert nearly got hit, but dodged the rope to center field. And remember, Macbeth has one of the premier arms in college baseball. And anytime he gets it out there with a runner at second, it's going to be a pretty close play, but Lambert beats it home, and 7 runs now for the Tide.
They have scored in every inning through the first 4 innings.
.46 runs for Lance Cormier on Saturday conference games. That is unbelievable. They average 10 runs a game for Cormier on Saturday starts.
It's what we call support. Swing and a miss by Aaron Clark. Brent Boyd down to second base. Got there because of the throw home to Macbeth. He was unsuccessful in getting Lambert, who slid across the plate for his 3rd run scored of the afternoon. 1-1. Nobody down here in the bottom of the fourth. Aaron Clark struck out in the first inning, then had a double back in the second inning. Ball down the dirt. He's blocked in time for Landon Powell. Good power from the left side out of Ennis, Texas. Went to Panola College before he enrolled here at the University of Alabama. Good off-speed breaking pitch.
They've done a little research. Didn't need Barry Allen. Went to the media guide. The school record for doubles in the game is 4. Set by Mike Kern versus Auburn back on April 20th of 1991.
you seek out our research department to get all that information?
I am your research department. Don't you forget it.
2-2. Nobody down. Runner at second. Shot to first. Nice pickup by Trip Kelly. Runner advanced to third, but there's the first out here in the bottom of the fourth. Kelly with some pretty good leather work over there at first base to come up with that one. 3 unassisted as Clark goes down. They bring up the catcher, Jeremy Brown.
Certainly hit right on the button by Clark, but Trip Kelly is your starting first baseman for South Carolina for good reason. He's got a good glove and good stick, and kept another run from scoring with a nice defensive play.
And Jeremy Brown having a perfect afternoon. I think they're going to put him on. They are. I think Blake Taylor is going to deliver 4 pitches to the outside for Landon Powell, and I'm going to give Jeremy Brown a chance to hit. He had a single and RBI back in the first, and he got hit in the second.
Well, there he is second on the team with runners in scoring position. Hitting .405, so good reason to send him to first.
And Ray Tanner probably looks at the same statistics that you and I look at. So Brown will trot down to first base. That'll bring up the designated hitter, Will Herrick. Now runners at first and third. Brent Boyd over third base. Jeremy Brown down at first. So Herrick has a chance to drive in some runs. He's got 34 so far for the year, and he's got a perfect afternoon working 2. A walk in the first and a single and a run scored back in the third. Taylor looks in. Breaking ball again.
We mentioned Jeremy Brown second on the team with runners in scoring position. Herod best on the team, hitting .514 with runners in scoring position.
Ooh, a nice pickup on the outside by Landon Powell. That one almost got to the backstop. Powell flashing a little bit of leather behind the plate. Look at that pickup. Very nice. 2-0. Breaking ball stayed high. 3-0. This may be the unintentional intentional walk.
Right. That's what I was thinking at the same time. You don't want to serve one up to Bo.
There with 4 home runs and 25 runs batted in. Looks at the strike. Three and one. Doing a breaking ball. 3-1. Nice pitch outside corner. Full count. Now the question becomes, do you send the catcher Jeremy Brown? He does. A shot to left field on a base hit, and another run batted in. For the third, got it. Nicely done. Brown trying to take advantage, trying to go down to third base, and he was unsuccessful. Good defensive play that time by South Carolina to come up and get him.
Jeremy Brown was going on the pitch, so he had some momentum going, but Trey Dyson makes the quick throw into third, and close play over there at third. Adler, keep an eye on the tag. Let's see if Adler was able to tag him. If he did so, it was on the lower left portion of that leg near the calf, but hard to tell. Obviously, the crowd here didn't like the call, but I wouldn't want to make that call. It's too close.
Now give Herod another run batted in, his 35th of the year. Pete Stoner looked at the strike. Here's a shot to right field. I'll tell you, Alabama has got their bats out today. Second game in a row. That is their 11th hit of the afternoon. It's the 4th in this inning. We've had 3 singles and a double. Adam Pakovich, the right-handed hitting third baseman, will stride in. Runners now at first and second for Alabama. 2 away. Alabama up 8-1. 2 in the first, 3 in the second, 1 in the third, and 2 here in the fourth. It's an excuse me swing. Pavkovich takes it for strike. Goes a little too far. Taylor looks in, delivers outside. Powell with a bluff flow to first. Taylor trying to get out of here without any more damage being done. Up around the letters for a strike. It's part of that high strike zone we've been hearing a lot about in Major League Baseball. You starting to see any of that?
You know, it's amazing that the pitchers, after the first couple of weeks of spring training, it wasn't really even a topic for them.
Taylor delivers, and here's a shot to left field. Dyson's right there to make the catch. But not before Alabama picks up a couple of more runs. And they pick up 4 hits to go with those 2 runs, and left 2 runners left on base. Watch the throw at home. Was he safe or was he out? Man says he was safe. We're at Sewell Thomas Stadium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Dave Neal and Larry Conley. You can see the breeze is blowing, and we are happy to be with you on this magnificent day here in the middle of the state of Alabama, watching a good college baseball game. It is good on the part of the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Alabama is dismantling the 5th-ranked team in the country right now.
Michael Floyd for South Carolina, the right fielder, will lead it off. From the 8 the first pitch right down the heart of the plate for a strike. Floyd to be followed by Trey Dyson and Tony Adler. 1-1. Outside corner for a strike. Except for the second inning when he gave up a run on 2 hits. Cormier has been terrific.
Threw 17 pitches in the first inning, 12 in the second, 7 in the third, and 10 in the fourth. Had a bad inning last inning, threw 10 pitches.
There's a pitch outside, 1-2. Michael Floyd out of Severna Park, Maryland, with a transfer from the University of Virginia. In fact, he was their regular center fielder last year. Hit .325 over in the ACC. The ground ball between third and short. Nice pickup. Pavkovich throws across. Here's the first out here in the 5th inning. So Floyd, the first one down, 1 up, 1 down. It'll bring up Trey Dyson.
Well, Alabama has improved their defense. One of the reasons they have had some success for the last game and a half here. You can't give a team like South Carolina free outs, and Pavkovich doing his part.
Yeah, Dave, that's a good point. I was looking at the defensive statistics in the Southeastern Conference, and Alabama ranks 4th in fielding. With a 970 fielding percentage, at least coming into this game. Of course, they haven't made an error yet. 0-1. Dyson playing left field. Started working some in the outfield this past fall when they were having their workout. To the pitch outside. 1-1. You were talking about this young man early, Dave, about the fact that he is a little bit in left field.
You like that. That's been sitting with you for a while.
I like that a lot.
I'm sure I'll hear about it from Trey when we get to Columbia on Friday night.
In fact, when I was reading his bio, 2 things he likes to do. He loves investing. And the other thing is playing ping pong. There are guys in the investment community right now probably playing more ping pong than they are investing.
That's why you got to do both.
Yeah, it looks like Jeremy Brown might have had a glove problem. They're going to have to switch gloves. He may have had a something break back there, maybe the webbing of his glove. So he's got some new hardware to go out there with. 2-1, 1 down. We are in the top of the 5th. Alabama and South Carolina playing the second of a 3-game set here in Tuscaloosa. Foul to plate and back to the backstop. 2-2. Gamecocks came into this series 7-2. Dropped that game last night 12-1 to Alabama. Moved to 7-3. Their 30th game of the year. They are 24-5. Off to a terrific start. There's a shot to right center field. McClanahan drifting back right at the warning track and gathers it in. Still 2 up and 2 down here in the 5th inning.
Larry, we talked about the alleys here. I don't know if you could specifically say the alleys, but center field is a shot. And you really need to get the ball squarely. And McClanahan can cover a lot of range out there in center field. And then dead center field, you got that 400-foot sign plus the wall to get over.
Well, here are the dimensions of Sewell Thomas Stadium. They call it the Joe. Left field line is 325. In fact, both lines are 325, 365 to the gaps, and straightaway center is 400. Right now, the wind is blowing from right field across the left field.
Joe Sewell, Frank Thomas, that's who the stadium's named after. And of course, Frank Thomas donated the land here.
Adler fouls it back again. 0-2.
Frank Thomas was back here at Tuscaloosa back in the 40s and had all this land, pretty much most of it around this area by the baseball stadium and Coleman Coliseum and the football practice fields, and he donated the land here. So they gave him a name.
And Adler swings and misses. So once again, Lance Cormier doing a number. He has retired 11 straight hitters. Cormier getting it done on the mound, and the Tide getting it done with the bats. They are 8-1 leaders right now as we move to the bottom. Now we get fans of all ages out to watch college baseball. I'll bet that sucker really is good too. Right now, Alabama's up on South Carolina, 8-1. We're going to move to the bottom of the 5th, and we'll go to the bottom of the order. Nate Rogers, the left fielder, to lead it off. We'll move to the top of the order. Scott McClanahan and Casey Lambert. Rogers so far 1 for 2 with a run batted in. Back in the 3rd inning, he had a single. Blake Taylor in relief of Gary Bell. There's a pitch up high for a ball.
Bell's final line, Larry, 2 1/3, 7 hits, 6 runs, 4 earned, 3 walks, 1 strikeout.
Tough day for that young man.
That's coming from a guy who was 6-2 with a 2.2 ERA.
I want to tell you, there were no cheapos coming off of those bats either that he was throwing up there. When the ball was being met with the bat, it was going out there in a hurry. 2-1 to Nate Rogers. Some man's from New Zealand. Ottawa, New Zealand.
And there's a
strike, 2-2.
Player for the Braves who's real close to making the club. I don't know the final roster cuts that were coming today. Travis Wilson from New Zealand led the team in hitting during spring training. Could be the first major leaguer from New Zealand if he makes this Braves team as they open up the season on Monday night.
Ground ball back over the pitcher's mound. That's going to get into center field. Base hit or error?
That's got to be an E6.
E6.
Yeah, that's an E6. Drew Meyer will be the first one to tell you he makes that play in his sleep. Just kind of short-armed it, went right underneath the glove. But Drew, 99 out of 100 times, makes that play and makes it look routine.
3 errors this afternoon so far for South Carolina. So Nate Rogers down at first base. That'll bring up Scott McClanahan, the leadoff hitter. Center fielder looks at the pitch down low for a ball.
South Carolina had 16 errorless games in 29 played. So they've been pretty good defensively. But today, not so.
Good breaking ball pitch that time by Blake Taylor. Scott McClanahan this year on February the 18th stole 4 bases against the University of Miami. It's hard enough to steal 1 base. A guy that steals 4 bases in an afternoon has really accomplished something. Started the year with a 12-game hitting streak. There's a pitch down in the dirt. Taylor.
Casey Lambert looking to tie that school record with 4 doubles that I researched.
There was another breaking ball up there. He has done nothing but feed a steady diet of breaking pitches to McClanahan. Rogers with a short lead at first base. McClanahan is set. The fastball could be 2. Shortstop steps on second, throws to first. Nice pickup by Trip Kelly and a double play. Nicely done out there by Drew Meyer.
Drew makes up for that error that allowed Rogers to reach base and had to hurry up. An awkward step to the bag, and then watch Kelly. That's the second time today Trip Kelly has picked up his defense. And that's 2 down in the inning.
And that'll bring up Casey Lambert. And he gets hit on the left shoulder. They're going to make him stay. The same thing happened last night. John Whitaker is going to make Casey Lambert come back and hit again. Made no effort to get out of the way of that pitch. And it was Lambert last night, too, whom they asked to stay at the plate.
I guess you could say the word is out on Casey Lambert, how he'll take one for the team. Let's see. He did, Larry. I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Almost looked like he leaned into it.
Hit 5 times, leads the team, but you got to make some effort. I mean,
well, you know what? He's seeing that little bender come up there. He's willing to take one right in the meat of the arm. 2-0. Now that was for real. He's going to go for that.
That's his 6th time he's been hit by a pitch.
Pretty hard to get out of the way of this one. Well, you know what? He didn't make much of an effort on that one either.
But that was behind him. Breaking pitch didn't even break.
We'll bring up Brent Boyd, the second baseman. So Casey Lambert finally got his wish. He got to first base via being hit. There's a fly ball lifted into center field. Macbeth wandering back underneath of that. Should be easy, and it is. 3rd out here in the 5th inning. Well, Alabama will take the field again. South Carolina down 8-1 right now as we move to the 6th. Carolina, the shadows are beginning to lengthen a little bit here in Tuscaloosa. Dave, take a look at these 2 pitches right here.
The first one, Lambert's just going to hang out over the plate, lets it hit him right in the fat of the arm. And then the second time, just 2 pitches later, the breaking pitch hangs up, and Lambert didn't make much of an effort there, but regardless, that ball was coming right at him. So that time he got the free pass down to first. But here's the story.
Lance Cormier has retired 11 straight hitters in the 5 innings pitched, only 1 earned run. He has yet to walk a batter and has a couple of strikeouts. Well, it's nice to play behind a guy that keeps the ball in play and ask your infield and outfield to make plays for you. And Cormier winds and pitches here in the 6th. Outside corner for a strike.
It's also easy to play for a pitcher who's averaging 12 pitches an inning.
You bet. South Carolina in second place in the Eastern Division behind the Tennessee Volunteers. The Vols right now 8-2 after that loss to Auburn last night. And the Gamecocks are 7-3, followed by a vastly improved Georgia club at 6-4, 18-8 overall. 0-2. Landon Powell hitting from the left side. Swings and fouls one back. Don't forget, Dave and I will be with you next weekend. We get a little Friday-Saturday action, if you will. LSU South Carolina on Friday night, then Saturday afternoon at our regular time, 4 o'clock Eastern time. Mississippi State will take on the Volunteers in Knoxville. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Cormier coming forward again. There's another foul back. Still 0-2.
Turned out to be a nice day, didn't it, Larry?
Did indeed. Landon Powell out of New Hill, North Carolina, freshman switch hitter hitting from that left side with the right-handed throw on Cormier. Pitch up high. It's always nice to get high school players out of high school graduating earlier. Talking about Powell earlier, he actually enrolled at South Carolina in January. Trying to get your college career started, get a couple of classes under the belt before you go out there and start playing. Nice off-speed pitch that time for Cormier. And there's his 12th guy retired in the order.
Larry, let's take some scores, a look at some scores from today. Mississippi State all over Arkansas. The Razorbacks won yesterday. Florida holds off Vanderbilt 1-0, and Auburn on top of Tennessee 4-0. That's good news for South Carolina.
Hey, that is Florida's 9th win in a row.
A couple more for you. Kentucky and LSU tied that game early, and so is Georgia Ole Miss. Georgia trying to rebound. They got beat last night by the Rebels in Oxford.
Drew Meyer hitting from the left side. Looks at the pitch by Cormier.
You mentioned high school kids coming up. You know, high school finally adapted the collegiate bat this year, the NCAA bat. Last year, the NCAA decided to reduce the size of the barrel of the bat and the weight to make it a little bit less dangerous. The barrel was so big, the bats were getting so light. These guys were basically, it's like hitting a golf ball, like standing out there 90 feet away and having to catch a golf ball with a driver. So they've reduced the bat size and to make it less dangerous. And the high school kids have adapted that same size bat, which I think is good news.
I understand they've changed the composition of the bats somewhat, too.
Some of the metal has been changed around a little bit, and they're really trying to work with it. All the bat manufacturers are working with the NCAA because they know they're reaching a point to where it's becoming very dangerous to be a pitcher.
Drew Meyer looks at a strike. 2 strikeouts here in the 6th inning. That is 13 in a row retired by Cormier.
Lance is getting better with time today. Here's a young man that came into this game with a 1.99 ERA. Now has 4 strikeouts on the afternoon.
2 of them here in this inning. They'll bring up Marcus McBeth, the center fielder for South Carolina. He hits one down to third, and by the third baseman, Papkovich, who couldn't get his glove down quickly enough, and that's a base hit for Marcus McBeth. They'll bring up Brian Jeffcoat. Pretty good job of pitching.
Listen to your coach.
Yeah, right there wanted that out. He wanted to head into the dugout.
Second baseman Brian Jeffcoat.
That was his first hit given up since he gave up a double to Mike Floyd
Back in the 2nd inning.
Goodness. Pretty good effort.
$13 in a row retired before that McBeth base hit. Shot heading toward left field, and another base hit. Jeffcoat delivers one with 2 down. And South Carolina with a little rally going here. Runners now at 1st and 2nd with back-to-back singles by McBeth and Jeffcoat. Bring up the number 4 hitter, Tim Whitaker. Very capable of delivering a home run. In fact, he leads the SEC in that category. He's got 11 for the year. I'll tell you, one big blow right here could get them back in this game. As you see, Whitaker's grounded out to second twice. Wide open stance. To the left foot. It's pointed directly toward first base. He strides into the ball, swings and fouls one off, almost into the South Carolina dugout. 0-1.
Put your bat into it. Come on, T, down, one hard.
A lot of encouragement right now coming from the dugout for Whitaker. And he delivers outside corner for a strike. 0-2. So Whitaker in a hole now. His club's down 8-1. He's in the top of the 6th. And Lance Cormier has been just rolling right along. Pitch up high for a ball. 1-2. Always nice to deliver that fastball up under the chin, you know, just to give the guy something to think about.
Nice, unless you're the batter.
Yeah.
Yeah, who's that nice for, Larry?
Nice for him. Whitaker says, I don't want to see that again. 1-2. Breaking ball down in the dirt. Good block out there. Jeremy Brown doing a nice job.
Jeremy looks like a real catcher, even though he really hadn't played there, but sporadically during some summer league ball. And that's what Jim Wells says. That's why he was at first base the last couple of years. Anything thrown over there, you knew he was going to knock it down, so he keeps up that string behind the plate.
He has yet to commit an error. He had 197 chances coming into this game and has yet to commit an error. The breaking ball hit toward third. Should be an easy play. Back to across the diamond. And here's the third out here in the 6th inning. Well, South Carolina got a couple of base hits, but for naught, no runs scored. The Crimson Tide continue to lead 8-1 here in Tuscaloosa. Welcome back. Alabama leading South Carolina 8-1. We are going to be moving to the bottom of the 6th, and we've got some Alabama fans on their feet applauding. I'll tell you what, if you ever have a chance and you're in the area to come out and watch an Alabama baseball game, these fans really do get into their game. They've had such success under Jim Wells, who's done such a terrific job here in his 7th year at Alabama. And we've got a new pitcher on the mound. Tommy McLean has been in 6 games so far. You can see a pretty respectable 1.00 earned run average. He doesn't have any saves, 1-0. He's only thrown 9 innings, but only given up 1 hit and 1 earned run, 5 walks and 9 strikeouts. So Tommy McLean on in relief for South Carolina, their 3rd pitcher. Gary Bell started. Blake Taylor came on in the bottom of the 3rd. So McLean now will be the 3rd pitcher for the Gamecocks here this afternoon. Who will he be facing? Well, the cleanup hitter Aaron Clark, the first baseman, followed by Jeremy Brown and Bo Herod.
Leading off the home half of the 6th inning, first baseman Aaron Clark.
Clark having a pretty good afternoon. Double back in the 2nd inning. 1 for 3 so far. Breaking pitch, low and inside. Tommy McLean lines and throws, and there's a foul back up to the left side, and maybe up in the stands. It is. McLean's had a pretty respectable start so far for South Carolina this year. In those 9 innings with that 1.00 earned run average. There's a shot into right center field. That'll get into the gap. It's at least 2. Rounding first is Clark. He's heading for 2nd, and that's where he's going to end up. So a pair of doubles for Clark today and 4 trips to the plate. It is the 5th double of the afternoon so far for Alabama.
Aaron Clark has been a guy that either is a highlight reel or sometimes not. Today, in the last night, he has been a highlight reel offensively. A couple of doubles for him today.
He'll bring up Jeremy Brown. He's got a perfect day going. Lane delivers the pitch, foul down the left side. This picks it up, or Adler picks it up. Brown singled with an RBI back in the 1st inning. He was hit by a pitch in the 2nd inning, and he walked in the 4th. And was gunned down at 3rd base. And a nice play by Trey Dyson on the throw over there. So Clark gets a lead at 2nd. With the ball back at the middle, and the base hit into center field. Rounding 3rd is Clark. He's being waved home. It gets through the center fielder, McBeth. Rolling all the way almost to the warning track. And there goes Brown. He'll post into 3rd base. And another error, the 4th of the afternoon for South Carolina.
Scored a single and a 2-base error. And give him an RBI. And we're talking about Marcus McBeth with one of the best guns in the Southeastern Conference. Came up firing, but the ball slips below his glove. And here's Jeremy Brown. And had it been Casey Lambert or Scott McClanahan, this might have been an inside the Parker. But big Jeremy Brown going as fast as he can go.
You know what he was thankful of? He didn't have to slide into 3rd. He could just coast in. Bo Harrod will stand in, hitting from the right side. Still nobody down here in the 6th. Look to the pitch on the outside corner.
Larry, how about this graphic? First error in almost 2 years for Marcus McBeth.
Well, this is not a typical fielding day for South Carolina, who's usually very reliable in the field.
I got a feeling that man is going to have a word or two with his ball club after this one.
Coming into this game, South Carolina was actually second in the Southeastern Conference in fielding percentage with a .930 fielding percentage. They had 16 of 29 games that were errors. There's a pop-up way up in the infield. Who's calling? Shortstop Myers got it. He called Adler off at the last moment. So Bo Harrod is down. Wide and short. One away. Brown had to stay in third. We got Peter Stone.
You talk about that defense. They were on pace until today to set a school record in fielding percentage, but that might be in jeopardy after a 4-error display.
Pitch down low for a ball. Well, it turned out to be a gorgeous afternoon and early evening. There's a strike. 1-1. Unlike our last weekend.
Are you saying it was cold last weekend? Because I didn't mention it.
No, you didn't say a word about it. Ball hit to second. Jeffcoat's up with it. Throw to first. And there's the second out, and the run scores. Jeremy Brown crosses the plate with the 10th run of the afternoon for Alabama. And there's 2 away here in the bottom of the 6th. Bring up Adam Pavkovich, third baseman. So the bases are clear. And McClain, the third pitcher for South Carolina, wheels and deals. Down low for a ball. Pavkovich so far, you see, 0 for 2. He had a walk back in the 3rd inning. The ball down in the dirt.
South Carolina team, Larry, last year finished first in the RPI.
There's a ball hit into right center field. McBeth wandering over, casually draws it in. That's the 3rd out here in the 6th inning, but not before Alabama picks up 2 more runs on 2 hits, and they lead the Gamecocks 10-1. Here's Sewell Thomas Stadium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Dave Neal and Larry Conley joining you for a college baseball game between Alabama Crimson Tide and South Carolina's Gamecocks. Right now, the number 5 team in the country is down 10-1. Alabama's playing as well today as they did last night and winning the first of this 3-game series 12-1. They're up 10-1 today. And as the shadows lengthen across the field, I'm going to hand it back to my partner Dave Neal. Dave?
Thank you, Larry. Great job. Got us through that unscathed. Nobody got hurt except my ego and the guys in the truck. But we were talking before the last out there. South Carolina last year, we talked about their 56 wins. They finished, even though they didn't make it to the College World Series, they finished with the nation's #1 RPI, which is basically your strength of your baseball team in a computer format. And right behind them were the LSU Tigers, who went on to win the national championship under Skip Bertman. And that'll be our game Friday night in Columbia. LSU and South Carolina. Looking forward to that one. And Chip Kelly takes a strike from Lance Cormier, who got roughed up last inning, gave up 2 singles.
Yeah, but he was fortunate he gave up those 2 singles after 2 were out.
And straight back. Ahead 0-2. That South Carolina team, they will try and regroup, find a way to salvage this series. There's a shot to short, but picked up by Casey Lambert. Looked like a fly in the sky. There's your number 2 defensive shortstop in the league, and the guy was, or number 5, I should say, and was second in errors committed a year ago.
And Trip Kelly can't hit a ball any harder than what he just did. Nice play, good pickoff by Casey Lambert. Watch it again. Good angle right there.
Kelly hit it hard the last time he was up and lined it out to left field. It's been a tough day for Tripp. Here's Mike Floyd. Cormier has a couple of complete game shutouts this year. Won't get the shutout. We'll try to go the distance. Ah, there's Lambert. Took the hot shot right over the. I'll give him a hit on that. Hot shot.
When you go ask Casey Lambert, should he have had that ball? He'll tell you, yes, I should have.
And as aforementioned, our next SEC college baseball game Friday, South Carolina takes on LSU in Columbia. That's coming your way 7:30 Friday night. That time is Eastern. Be sure and check the listing in your area. Number 7 versus number 5. Trey Dyson is a guy that will be a big help for South Carolina if he can find a way to get on track. He hit .314 last year. I mean, he hit the home run. He was a clutch 2-out performer down the stretch. Beat a couple of teams with some big hits, including Duke, Clemson, Vanderbilt, some guys, some big name teams. He just, as Ray Tanner said to us, this is one of the most humbling games you'll ever play.
Well, you wonder, I mean, a guy hits .314, hits 11 home runs, 51 runs batted in. How is it he can drop to 164 and only have 4 runs batted in and no home runs? I mean, there's got to be something in there, something wrong. What it is, nobody knows. He had a great SEC tournament last year. He drove in 7 runs in those 4 games he played in. Had some very timely hits.
Hit on any way he can.
It's a first walk of the afternoon. First walk today for Cormier. And Jim Wells is going to go out and have a conversation with his pitcher.
Last night, Coach Wells had to go to the bullpen one time. Brought in Bryce Heath, who pitched 2 innings. But Mark Carter threw 134 pitches last night. Threw 40 through 2 innings. And Jim Wells will leave in his starting pitcher, Lance Cormier, with 1 down, 2 on.
You know what I think the message was there? He says, look, you've got a 10-1 lead. What are you doing messing around? He says, go after these guys. He said, you're into the 7th inning. Just go up and go after.
For South Carolina, pinch hitting for the third baseman Tony Adler.
And Tony Adler will be pinch hit for. And Chris Bono, the catcher designated hitter, 6'3", 212 out of Sarasota, Florida, by way of Brevard Community College, steps in, a .235 average this year. Has 3 RBIs. Cormier trying to work himself out of a potential jam. That misses downstairs. 2-0. Alabama scored 2 runs in the first, 3 in the second, 1 in the third, 2 in the fourth. The only inning they haven't scored a run in is in the 5th. 10 total on 13 hits.
That was a good rip by Bono.
Bono was looking fastball. Cormier threw him one. The pitcher won that battle.
He just couldn't catch up with it. It was a little bit too high. You know, some hitters will tell you, if you catch a high ball just right, you can really drill it. But if it's a little bit higher than you really want it, really tough to catch up with it. Good pitch.
Evens the count at 2-2.
Bono played a couple of years, Dave, as you said, down at Brevard Community College in Sarasota. Hit 370 with 6 home runs last year. Pretty good year in a very good junior college league, that league in Florida.
This downstairs, count is full. This could be a big pitch for Lance Cormier. Ground ball right back to him. Could it be 2? On to first, yes. Lance Cormier having just one of those games that you'll remember for a long time, and he finishes off the South Carolina 7th with a nice 1-6-3 double play.
2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. All right, if you love the way the game goes, give me an A. Give me an M. Give me an A.
That is
Louder.
the Alabama Assistant Sports Information Director in charge of baseball here, and you do it better than Barry. But Barry, I don't know what to say. Does it every home game. Leads the crowd in a take me out to the ball game, and it gets them fired up. And he finished last night, and I said, how'd that one go? He says, that was among the better ones. So I'm anxious to see what he thinks about this one. First batter up sends a lofter to right field. Nate Rogers flies out down that line. And Chris Plummer's the new third baseman. He takes over for Tony Adler, who was pinch hit for last inning. Chris Plummer, the 6-foot, 180-pounder out of Fort Walton Beach, senior from Okaloosa Walton Junior College down there in the Panhandle, Walton Beach area. McClanahan lines it down the third baseline. That could be a couple. Dyson comes up with it, and it is a stand-up double for Scott McClanahan. And yet another double for this Alabama team.
The 6th of the afternoon.
And his 9th overall.
Shortstop, Jason Lambert.
And here's Casey Lambert, who has 3 doubles, trying to tie the school record set back in 1981. Mike Kearns holds the Alabama record with 4 doubles. McClanahan has scored 2 runs today. Lambert has scored 3 runs. Brent Boyd, the number 3 hitter, has scored 2 runs. So your top 3 guys have combined for 7 runs today. That's getting the most out of the top of your lineup.
I don't think McLean needs to worry about the runner down at second base, McClanahan going anywhere, now with a 10-1 lead.
Throw back to second on a rope. Powell shows he's got a good arm. And just in case McClanahan wasn't paying attention, Powell wanted to give him a little test. That was a nice throw down there to second base. There's a strike to Lambert. Lambert hit by that pitch. Hit by 2 pitches last time up.
He only got credit for one.
Right. It's a 10-1 Alabama lead. That's down in the dirt past Powell. McClanahan will hold up at third, and Lambert will stop at first. So there's 2 on with 1 down, and that takes us to Brent Boyd, who has scored a couple of runs, reached on an error, single.
Brent Boyd.
Here comes pitching coach Jerry Myers out of that South Carolina dugout. Talk to his pitcher.
Well, they got the first out pretty easily with Nate Rogers at the bottom of the order. It was the first out of the 7th inning, and then McClanahan shot one over the third base back down there for a double, and then he walked Lambert and threw that wild pitch up there, which allowed McClanahan to get down to third. I think Myers wants to go out and just calm him down and say, look, we're looking for outs here. We're not looking for any more base runners.
Matt Wilson down in that bullpen for South Carolina. He's getting loose. The right-hander out of Belvedere, South Carolina.
They're going to make a change.
They were just trying to get Wilson, I guess, some extra pitches. And that's what they did. And so that'll do it for Tommy McLean. The left-hander gives way to the right-hander. So with the pitching change, we will step aside, get the numbers together, come back and update you after this.
Well, the 4th pitcher of the afternoon, Matt Wilson out of Belvedere, South Carolina, went to North Augusta High School. Right-hander, 6 foot, 188, junior. This will be his 6th game. As you can see, no decision registered so far. 3.97 earned run average. He's thrown 11 1/3 innings, 16 hits and only 5 earned runs. Very limited activity so far for Matt Wilson this year, but a guy they depend on. As a sophomore last year, he threw 29 innings and went 1-0. At a 4.34 earned run average. So he has been somebody they've tried to depend on a lot coming out of that bullpen.
Let's hear a look at our SEC standings, and this is what they appear at this particular moment. Tennessee 26-4, 8-2 in the league with a game lead over South Carolina. Both the Vols and the Gamecocks lost last night, as did Georgia. Georgia 2 games back. They're 18-8 overall. Florida, as Larry said, have won 9 straight baseball games. Here come the Florida Gators, St. Andy Lopez's troop. And over in the West, well, Alabama's trying to make some headway on LSU and Ole Miss. Ole Miss has won 8 of 10 in the league. LSU is a game back at 7-3. Mississippi State, 1 game over 500, but 15-10 overall. They beat Ole Miss on Wednesday night in the Mayor's Trophy game in a very cold, damp, muddy evening in Jackson, Mississippi. Seems like every year that game is cold, damp, and muddy, but they get it in. Ground ball, could be 2. A foul ball, they get 1, and that's it. Drew Meyer had a tough time getting it out of his glove. They could only get the force out, but a run comes across as McClanahan scores the 11th run for Alabama.
And Casey Lambert's going to be the out at second base, and it is a little bit of a bobble. Drew Meyer trying to get it to Jeffcoat. He got it in his glove, but not before the 11th run scores.
2 down in the inning. Here's Aaron Clark, who has a couple of doubles himself today. Fouls that off at the plate.
Boy, it's been a tough game for Ray Tanner, hasn't it? Went down 12-1 last night, down 11-1 so far here in the bottom of the 7th. This is a South Carolina club that is very good.
And last year, these two teams played some tremendous baseball games, low-scoring affairs. Games barely went over 2 hours. It was 4-1, 2-0, and 3-1. South Carolina won them all, but you think you limit a team to 9 runs in 3 games that you might have a chance to win 1. But when you only score 2 in 3 games, you're not going to produce many victories, and that's the case for Alabama last year. Both these teams have good records at home against one another. 7-3 Alabama is against South Carolina here in Tuscaloosa, and it's 7-2. South Carolina leads Alabama in Columbia. There's a fastball there for a strike, and that'll do it for Aaron Clark and company. But they do pick up 1 more run. Their lead is now 10 with 14 hits in the game. We move to the 8th inning. South Carolina needs a major miracle. We'll see if they got one when we come back. Great scenery in Tuscaloosa as always. Great ballpark, great day for baseball. Good crowd on hand. South Carolina has been more than dominant at home. 18 of 20 they have won at home. But on the road, they're about to fall to 3-4 unless they can pull something out of their hat.
If you're wondering where those 3 extra games are, they were neutral sites, which they won. Today's their 30th game of the year.
For South Carolina, the catcher, Landon Powell.
And here's the catcher, Landon Powell, stepping in. Landon struck out his last time up. 0 for 2 today. As we move to the 8th. It's Cormier bringing the heat. Gave up 1 run way back in the 2nd inning. That was after Trip Kelly singled, and then Mike Floyd delivered a double, picked up the RBI, and since then it has been all Cormier. Powell swings through.
Pretty good fastball right there. Cormier has been very successful keeping South Carolina off balance today. He's delivered a lot of good pitches, working inside, outside, breaking balls with pretty good speed on his fastball.
There's a fastball with a lot of velocity and a nice pop in the mid of Jeremy Brown, but misses out. 3-1. Round back, count full 3-2. Spring football picks up again on Monday. They've been on spring break here.
It's important in this part of the country.
I would say Dennis Franchione is taking the reins here at Alabama. Just missed downstairs. That is a walk issued to Powell.
Only the 2nd walk issued today by Lance Cormier. Down low. Pretty good job of trying to frame it by Jeremy Brown, trying to get it up. Cormier wanted that pitch.
Curveball down in the dirt. 1-0 to the top of the order, Drew Meyer. Drew, a strikeout victim in the 6th.
You got to wonder. I thought about this, that Drew Meyer, who was drafted in the second round of the Dodgers in the June '99 draft, says a lot about this young man wanting to go to college. Most of the guys taken in the top 6-7 rounds end up signing and not even bothering going to college. Meyer made the decision to come on and play.
Passed up a nice 6-figure deal in the process. Hard to say no to that, but he did. Speaking of that, Adam Everett, former shortstop for South Carolina, played on the Olympic team with Coach Ray Tanner, that Tommy Lasorda manager of. Playing with the Houston Astros, and right on the verge of making the big league club. They'll send him to New Orleans for AAA to start the season. But Adam, if there is some sort of injury, could be called up immediately. They are very high on the young shortstop out of South Carolina for sure. And speaking of that, waits for the pitch, found out a play. Dax Norris, a former catcher for the Alabama Crimson Tide back in, I think, 1996 when he wrapped up his career, is with the Braves organization. Saw him down at spring training, and probably head down to AAA or AA. Weren't decided yet when out of spring training where they were going to send him. But
it's a good thing everybody was standing out on the front edge.
Absolutely.
Dugout.
Absolutely.
Because if they'd have been sitting, they couldn't have moved fast enough.
Lance, 104 pitches, well shy of his partner Mark Carter last night. He finished with 134. Just missed downstairs, and that's a couple of walks now for Cormier. He's battled, but just missing his spots, and Jeremy Brown will head out to the mound to talk to his pitcher. And
all three of these walks have occurred in the last 2 innings. He had one back in the 7th when he walked Dyson, and now 2 to start the 8th here. 2, 3, 4 hitters coming up for South Carolina.
Oh, he hit him. Cormier stayed inside and hit McBeth right on the wrist. And I tell you, that's 3 walks. And loads him up, and there's nobody out in this inning.
Watch it again. You'll see the pitch just gets away from you. Almost looked like it was trying to throw a breaking ball. I think maybe that's what Marcus McBeth was expecting. And Jim Wells is going to make a change. He's already made the signal to the bullpen.
They're going to go get Jared Woodward, the right-hander, the freshman out of Northport, Alabama, will make his way onto the field to replace Lance Cormier, who, despite the 3 base runners, pitched a marvelous game today.
A student gains valuable experience from a world-class manufacturer. An American entrepreneur has phenomenal success in the Asian import market. A proud father brings his son to a place that changed his life. The University of Alabama, touching lives and making a difference around the world and right next door.
So Alabama has to go to the bullpen. They pull out Jared Woodward to come in and take over for Lance Cormier, who pitched a nice baseball game today, but obviously ran out of gas down the stretch.
It's Woodward's 12th game. He is 3-2 so far with that 3.79 earned run average. Has yet to earn a save. A lot of work over that bullpen already with 35 2/3 innings with 34 hits, 15 earned runs. Outstanding walk to strikeout ratio, 8-25. Dave, he's already had 2 works this week. Actually on Sunday against Ole Miss, 2 innings. Had a bad outing. Gave 7 hits, 6 runs, 5 of them earned, and then came back against Louisiana Tech this week on the 27th, and 3 2/3 innings, a much better outing. 3 innings, no hits, no runs, no earned runs, and a couple of strikeouts. So 1 good outing and 1 bad outing so far this week.
Lance Cormier, who came into this game with an ERA of 1.99, Gave up 1 run. That was back in the 2nd inning. He's disappointed he couldn't finish the deal. He has 2 complete games this year. One was a 1-hit shutout. But overall, he'll take the effort. Jim Wells will take the performance. He's gotten 2 pretty good starts out of his Friday and Saturday guys. Mark Carter was a little over 7 innings last night. Cormier takes him into the 8th here tonight. Jared Woodward, who has stranded 12 of 13 inherited base runners this year, has his hands full with the bases loaded and nobody down. And here is Brian Jeffcoat, who has 8 home runs, 33 RBIs this year, hitting .380, so a very, very difficult out coming for Woodward.
Oh, that's a good breaking pitch right there. You had Jeffcoat way out on his front foot. Still Woodward trying to shut down this mini rally that South Carolina's got going right now. Shortstop and second baseman are deep, willing to get the double play, give up the run. There's an 11-1 lead.
I'm called at the plate by Jeffcoat. If nothing else for South Carolina, they'd like to string together a few hits, maybe gathers a little bit of momentum heading into Sunday's finale. There's a shot left field. Rogers just shy of the warning track. Makes the catch for out number 1. But Landon Powell, who walked to lead off the inning, comes around to score, and that's the 2nd run of the game for the South Carolina Gamecocks.
Sacrifice fly. An RBI for Brian Jeffcoat, his 34th run batted in of the year.
Just missed a potential grand slam. Got under it just a bit. And here's Tim Whitaker. He has 11 home runs, 42 RBIs, 10 doubles, so another tough out. Breaking pitch misses outside. Whitaker struggling today, looking for his first hit. Grounded out all 3 times.
Let's go back and take a look at Tim Whitaker's profile right here. You can see he's a power hitter. Good chance here to drive in some runs. Hits it where it's pitched and is a good eye.
Slow roller to short. Lambert, the second on the first double play. It's been that kind of day for Alabama, and it's been that kind of day for South Carolina. They had the bases loaded, only score 1. Nice job by Jared Woodward out of the bullpen. South Carolina trailing by 9. They cut into that lead by a run. 14 hits, 6 hits. Alabama has had the way with South Carolina in the first 2 games. The Tide have turned 3 double plays today. The 4 South Carolina errors are a season high. And we move to the bottom of the 8th inning. There's Jeremy Brown. Jeremy, a co-captain of this team, along with Brent Boyd. Dingle picked up an RBI in the 6th. Walked, hit by a pitch, and it's a fly ball center field. Up against the wall, Macbeth.
Did he get it? He got it.
He caught it. Oh my goodness! It sounded like a train wreck. Marcus Macbeth gets a nice ovation from the Alabama crowd, but what a catch.
That might be as good an outfield play as you will see all year. Watch Marcus Macbeth heading for that fence, knowing he's going to run into it, able to make the catch, bounces off of the wall, and still comes up with the ball. Outstanding play.
You're talking about one of the best center fielders in college baseball, displaying his skills. McClanahan Had one earlier.
Watch this again in real speed. He is flying to that fence. What a great defensive play.
That pitch in the dirt bounces off Powell all the way up to the backstop. What a catch. That's 2 of those today, Larry, we've seen out there. I mean,
dude, that's one of the better ones I've seen in a while. Going back several years, that was a great catch.
And when you say several years, for you, you mean several.
I've been doing baseball for about, this is my 9th year doing this, yeah.
And a walk. So Harrod on, and that takes us to Stonard.
Right fielder Peter Stonard.
Stonard picked up an RBI in the 6th, singled. Back in the 4th. Fouls that back by the Alabama bench. Misses inside. This Alabama team came in 4th in the league in batting average with a .311 average. Fouled out of play. Today they've pounded out 14 hits. Their average will increase after this. South Carolina came in with a middle of the road average in terms of the Southeastern Conference at .293, but among the league leaders. Actually, they were 4th in the league in doubles coming in, and in home run they had amassed 56. That's a gapper. No one's going to catch that. Stonard hits second, and in front of him is Harrod. He comes all the way around from first to score. So, Larry, you know what that was?
A double.
My goodness. Alabama has found the gaps today at Sewell Thomas Stadium.
Harrod scores the run ahead of the Stoner double into right center field. You got all of this one, too. Right in the gap. You can see Macbeth and Floyd trying to run it down before it gets to the wall, but it gets there, and Stoner pulls in with his 18th run batted in and his 4th double of the year.
2 RBIs today for Stonard as well. Adam Pavkovich, the third baseman. The only player in this Alabama order without a hit today. Curveball in there for a strike, 0-2. There's 1 down in the inning. We're in the bottom of the 8th in Tuscaloosa. That's down in the dirt. 1-2. Alabama about to go a game over 500 in the league. Last year they got off to a slow start as well in SEC play before finishing up 16-14 in conference play. They were a few games under 500 after a few weekend series. There's a grounder to third. Nice play. Plummer comes up firing to Kelly, out number 2.
Nice play by Chris Plummer that time, having to go behind the bag at third base. Kind of lift the runner back at second and then rifle a throw across there for the second out here in the 8th.
Left fielder Nate Rogers.
And here's Nate Rogers, number 9 hitter in the order, left fielder. He singled back in the 3rd and picked up an RBI. Looks at a strike. And Matt Wilson, the 4th South Carolina pitcher today. Gary Bell came in with a 6-2 record, 2.2 ERA, and got rocked in 2 1/3 innings, giving up 7 hits and 6 runs. 4 of those were earned. Of course, the 4 errors by South Carolina hasn't helped their cause any, but this is a team that will be back.
Breaking ball just got away from him.
Keep on, you hit the ball in a minute. Hit that ball in the bucket over there.
That's sent out to left field. Here comes Stoner to throw home a little late, to throw to second. That gets past the second baseman. Coat out to center field. And Nate Rogers ends up at third base. We'll give him a single and an RBI and a 2-base error on the throw down to second.
Fifth error of the day for South Carolina.
It has been one of those days for the Gamecocks.
Yes, it has.
And that man right there is not pleased.
Curveball stays inside. 13-2. Alabama's bats, which had been somewhat quiet during a 4-game losing streak, have come alive here at home. And that pops McClanahan right on the hand. Those are always scary. And Wilson sends McClanahan down to first.
The only inning that Alabama has not scored in has been the 5th. And at least 1 run in every other inning. 2 in the first, 3 in the second, 1 in the third, 2 in the fourth. Skip the 5th, 2 in the 6th, 1 in the 7th, and 2 here in the bottom of the 8th. So it's been an equal opportunity inning.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. Casey Lambert still searching for that school record 4th double set in 1981 by Mike Kearns. You know, I spent a good 2 minutes looking that up, so
I know you
I'm going to get that in.
You know what? I almost hope he gets it now, but so I can hear the end of it.
Here's a grounder to second. Jeff Coat hits Meyer. So no school record today for Casey Lambert. But Marcus McBeth, in a day of disappointment, provides a glimpse of hope with a great catch in center field. We are back in Tuscaloosa. The Alabama fans smiling. Their team's going to win 2 in a row unless South Carolina can pull off the miracle here in the top of the 9th inning. Down 13-2. They came into this game. This is amazing. 22 errors this season. They have 5 today. They've hit 3 batters. It has been a one of those weird ones for that man, Ray Tanner. I'm feeling that he may just forget about this one as quickly as possible. The good thing is they'll finish this series up tomorrow early with an early afternoon first pitch set, so they won't have to think very long about this game. Here's Trip Kelly to lead off the 9th.
Yeah, but the one thing they do have to do is regroup themselves. I mean, they have to come back here and play tomorrow. It's an Alabama team that has a lot of confidence right now in what appears to be at least the first 2 wins of a 3-game set.
Woodward in relief of Lance Cormier evens the count at 2-2 on Trip Kelly. Trip Kelly's hit the ball hard today. Just 1 of 3 to show for it. That pitch in the dirt, 3-2. straight back.
You know, Dave, it's really a frustrating day. I mean, I've been in the situation with Trip Kelly and watched players like this. I mean, he gets a single in the second inning. Then he hits a bullet to left field in the fourth and a bullet to the shortstop back in the seventh. And there's nothing to show for it.
But he will reach base in the ninth with a walk. Not what you want with a 11-run lead. And I'm sure Jim Wells is somewhere in that dugout saying, son, just throw it over the plate.
Michael Floyd.
Let's go. The ground ball. Let's go. All man. Have your baseball.
There's a strike. I will say this. It is such a joy and a pleasure to come around the Southeastern Conference and deal with these players and coaches. You know, we had 9 months off, or I did, since we ended last season, and to get back in the mix with these coaches and whatnot, it's just a treat. We are very blessed to be able to work with guys like Jim Wells and Ray Tanner and the players in this conference.
You know, and as you said earlier today, there are two guys that could spend just a whole afternoon visiting with. I mean, they've got great stories. They're gentlemen, and they've been around baseball for so long. Ray Tanner telling us about his great trip to Sydney, Australia as part of the coaches on the Olympic team, joining Tommy Lasorda.
Had some funny stories that are unreputable. But we're funny.
Well, some of them are.
Yeah. 2-2. Foul straight back. Somewhere near my car. Didn't hear any glass break, so I'm feeling pretty good.
You've got a little drive ahead of you. You don't need a cracked windshield.
No. There's a off the end of the bat, little squibber out into the right field. They'll hold Kelly up at second. Off the end of the bat. That is the 8th hit of the day for South Carolina.
It looked like a cue shot. That ball had a little English on it. It just kind of, it really did literally go off the end of the bat. A little flare.
So my question to you is, do you stop by the dog track on the way home tonight?
No. All the way home.
Birmingham track. Been there. Don't want to go back. Popped it up. Straight up.
Infield fly rule.
Batter is out. Runners stay where they are.
Third baseman, Chris Plummer.
It's the first out of the inning, and here's Chris Plummer, who was a late addition, checking in as a defensive replacement back in the 7th inning at third base. Fly ball. Center field. Scott McClanahan. And that is out number 2. And South Carolina could be down to their last batter. Landon Powell. Fouls it back.
Good afternoon for Alabama. Back-to-back wins against the number 5 team in the country. 12-1 thrashing last night. 13-2 right now.
There's a strike to Powell. It's 0-2. Jared Woodward trying to close the deal for his partner. Lance Cormier, 0-2 with 2 down. There's 2 on. Hopped him up by the third base bag. Hankovich makes the catch in foul territory, and Alabama wins for the second consecutive night over the 5th-ranked South Carolina Gamecocks. The final 13-2 as Alabama pounded out 15 hits to match 11 hits last night. South Carolina held in check offensively, just 2 runs on 7 hits, but 5 big errors. The Crimson Tide will celebrate. They'll wrap up the 3-game set tomorrow. We'll come back, have more. Stay with us. The 19th time this year, beating South Carolina 13-2. They won last night 12-1, so 25 runs in 2 games for the Crimson Tide. Last year, they only scored 2 runs in 3 games for South Carolina in Columbia. And now South Carolina, which hadn't lost a game by double figures in 2 years, has lost back-to-back games by double digits. South Carolina going to try to find their way tomorrow, Larry, but do they have enough to get out of here? I mean, Alabama looks like they got it going.
Yeah, there are a couple of complications right now for South Carolina. Obviously, they're not hitting the ball very well. Only 1 run last night, 2 here this afternoon. But more importantly, I think has been the defensive work of the Gamecocks in the field. It has not been very good. They had 5 errors here this afternoon, which contributed a lot to those 13 runs that Alabama was able to put up on the board. But the Crimson Tide, they've really picked up some momentum right now. They go to 6-5 in the Southeastern Conference, and right behind LSU and Ole Miss in that Western Division. South Carolina, of course, falls to 7-4.
Let's look at some other SEC scores from around the league. Mississippi State beats Arkansas by 6, getting revenge for a loss last night. Florida holds off Vandy 1-0 in Nashville. Tennessee loses to Auburn. Auburn now, after dropping 9 straight in the league, has won back-to-back contests against the 10th-ranked team in the country. LSU beats Kentucky, or is beating Kentucky, that in the top of the 5th by 2. And Georgia and Ole Miss, they are in the bottom of the 5th, and Georgia leads it by 4. They are trying to even that series at 1 game apiece. The story today, Lance Cormier goes 7 innings, gives up 6 hits, 2 runs. Both of those were earned, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, and at one time had sat down 13 straight South Carolina hitters. Well, here's our standings in the Southeastern Conference, updated to the moment. Tennessee, South Carolina. Georgia has a chance to pull within a game of Tennessee with a win today. Florida has won 9 straight baseball games. They're slowly but surely moving back up into the SEC standings. Vandy and Kentucky have their work cut out for them. Ole Miss, well, if they hold on today, or if they can pick up the win today, that'll be big news, because you know LSU's lurking behind at 7-3. Mississippi State at 5-5. We'll see Tennessee and Mississippi State on Saturday. LSU and this South Carolina team on Friday night. So the final score in Tuscaloosa was Alabama 13, South Carolina 2. Our next SEC college baseball game is this Friday as South Carolina takes on LSU at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Be sure and check the listing in your area. So for my partner Larry Conley, this is Dave Neal saying so long from Sewell Thomas Stadium in Tuscaloosa. We shall see you down the road.
Even if you are the miracle, you don't